Welcome everyone. Today we have the third part of the big patch preview update. This will be looking at 3 heroes and there's Ace of Alliance. That's right, very fancy Ace for the Knights, which is SVEN. SVEN is also going to have a passive and an active. Also SVEN is a human scaled knight. So this is going to make SVEN super strong by the looks of it. Firstly, let's go to the first hero, Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon is a tier 1 hero and he's going to be a heartless demon. So because it's a tier 1 demon, it's actually going to be the first demon we're going to find with tier 1 units. And also, being a heartless, it's possible to run Shadow Demon with the Jaw Ranger early at the start of the game. So Shadow Demon has his ultimate from Dota 2, which is the Thematic Purge. With this, he'll be purging its targets multiple times, removing any of the buffs and slowing them for movement and attack speed. After the 5-second duration, he'll be doing damage to them after as well. So he's quite a bit of the support, also utility, but he'll also do damage. Because he's tier 1, we don't expect there to be a lot of damage, but being able to debuff and also slow movement, it's potentially advantageous because they're units that kind of buff each other or heal each other, so it can be effective. And also another tier 1 Heartless makes the game so much more aggressive with the reduction to physical armor. So not bad of a unit. The second unit gets a little fancier. So this is Bristleback. We will now have a tier 4 Brownie. So if we remember, there's a tier 1 Brownie with Axe, tier 2 with Beastmaster, which is very strong already, tier 3 with Juggernaut, which is a little underwhelming because it's so high in cost, less stats. Tier 4 will have a Bristleback, tier 5 will have Disruptor. Or at least that's what I'm thinking is going to come. So unless they change the brownies again. But this will give us 5 brownies, so we don't have to search for a Disruptor for the late game for the brownies. So the brownies are definitely back if they kept all 5 of them. Let's look at his skill, then we'll look at Savage. Firstly, his skill is going to be the Krill Spray. This is a standard ability in Dota 2, very low CD, and the Krill Spray basically deal damages to nearby enemies in terms of physical damage if they use the Dota 2 mechanics. The enemy take additional damage each time to be hit by the Krill Spray. In Dota 2, I believe it starts like 10 or 20, and then each time you hit them, there's a stack damage. Say the first hit is 20 damage. After 2 seconds, he sprays again, then he deals, say, 35 or 40, then this adds up. The next spray will do 60, next spray will do 80, the next spray will do 100. So those that stays long enough under the kill spray, they will eventually die due to massive damage. Now, why is this such a good skill to combine with Savage? It's because Savage currently increases your base damage each time you cast a damaging spell. Right now we only have 2 damaging spells with Venomancer and Senking. Having the Bristleback means he will be frequently casting the Kill Spray. It's almost as good as if he had his Warpath, which is his ultimate from Dota 2, which gives him passively attack damage and the movement speed. So this way, each time he casts his Kill Spray, he will be stacking enemies for increased damage from his next spell. Also, he'll be increasing his base damage. So it's a nice combination of Alliance for the Brownie and Savage. It's likely he'll do lots of AoE damage, gets very tanky because he gets some kills with Brownie, and then from there, if you give him an item like Vanguard or maybe Radiance a little far, I know, maybe some tanky item just like a Chairmail to make use of his high HP base, then with Savage, he's going to do lots of right-click single target damage and lots of AoE. So this was why Beastmaster was so good, because he hits really hard and also he does massive AoE. So very curious on how we're going to look into Bristleback and how we can play around him. The downside is being on tier 4, it's going to be a little harder to find him at 2-star initially, but after round 25 I think we can still do it. So this is definitely a hero we want to try out. We could try to make him immortal, and because he's going to be so tanky, and if he has the Savage and Kill Spray, he's likely going to stack up so much damage if you can't kill him. Yes, we did take a little time on the Bristleback, but here is the star of the show. Oh, the great mighty SVEN. Now keep in mind, it didn't say he's tier 5, but because he's Ace tier, that means he's a tier 5 unit. And because of that, we know SVEN's going to cost 5 gold. And this is an Ace for the Knights. Let's look at the Ace of Knights first. When SVEN casts God Strength, which is this spell, all allied knights loses the Knight Alliance, okay, and gain increased damage per Knight Alliance per the remainder of the rounds. Let's look at the God Strength now. God Strength gives SVEN Enrage and gets amplified damage. If this goes with the Dota 2 ability, he's likely going to get 100%, 150, maybe 200% increased damage by casting this spell for himself. Now, if he's with Knights, and there's 3 tiers of Knights, let's keep in mind of that. Unlike the Trolls, there's only 2 tiers of Trolls. Like the Warlocks, there's 3 tiers of Warlocks. So SVEN's gonna remove all the Knight's defensive mechanics by giving him basically his God Strength to everybody else, which is pretty interesting. And the downside with SVEN usually is he have trouble with the mass of units. That's why usually SVEN in Dota 2 also have the Cleave. The Cleave effect allows SVEN to melee strike nearby enemies for percentage of his damage. Basically, it's like a free battle free without the damage of battle free, but he does have higher damage than the battle free because of the God Strength. If you have seen my particular SVEN games with Dota Underlords, I'll be making a link first. He hits very hard, and when he casts God Strength with Cleave, he can basically 1 or 2 shots everything. If he's a 3-star, if he's a 2-star, he still packs a punch. Even at 1-star, the SVEN can potentially increase the damage of Chaos Knight and Luna by so much, because Chaos Knight's a demon. So if Chaos Knight was hitting like 450 at tier 3, now he gets like 100% more damage. He hits 900 plus another 50% pure damage. The Chaos Knight hits like 1000 plus. And Luna is going to be hitting, I think, 210 times at least another 100%. So she's going to be hitting 400, and those things bounces. I wanted to show how powerful a 3-star SVEN is in Dota Underlords, because something likely is going to happen in Dota Underlords as well. So this is an old video where we found a 3-star SVEN with a 3-star Medusa. Let's have a look what happens with a 3-star SVEN. So here's a SVEN.
Look.
We're using less units on the board as well.
1,500 damage.
This is his God Strength.
5k HP, 3-star SVEN.
That's a 3-star Terrorblade.
It is ready for the Terrorblade. Are you guys seeing this?
Yeah, that is a 3-star SVEN, and the size increases as the units gets Rampage in Dota Underlords back then, and it was amazing to have, and it was doing so much damage. Let me see if I can find another one. Here is another little spotlight of a 3-star SVEN and a 3-star Medusa in Dota Underlords. Let's have a look at the SVEN.
We'll roll for him. We're going for 2 versus like many.
Yeah, we have 2 units on the board instead of like many, because we just want to show how SVEN is.
Medusa, you know what Medusa is for, guys. It's a boss. That's a 3-star DP.
Yeah, that was a 3-star Death Prophet, which is also a legendary in Dota Underlords. The SVEN does a lot of damage, as you can see, because his base damage was 500 here, and he was amplifying himself by another 200%. He was doing what, 1.5k. And the SVEN over here also is a demon, so it does a little more. But the SVEN Underlord is likely going to do a lot more damage, simply because he might get a double damage with the Knights. When I said SVEN might get double damage instead of just getting a single double damage, it's because SVEN himself is a Knight. I'm wondering if with the God Strength activated, and also with the Knights Alliance as a SVEN Knight himself, SVEN is a rogue knight, by the way. So SVEN is going to get his God Strength damage because he buffed himself as his own spell. And also the Ace of Alliance is going to double buff him because of Ace of Knights. And if those things multiply, it's going to be like 2 times 2 is 4 times damage of something. Maybe like 2 times 1.5 or 2 times 1. So he's going to do maybe 500 plus 1,000 plus another 1,000. Or maybe 500 plus 1,000 plus another 1,500. So it's likely he's going to be like a godly damage if the Ace of Alliance and his own spell also multiplies. And because of that, I think this is going to be a very, very strong hero. And the Knights, this may be a little tricky for the Knights Alliance, because if you have SVEN, usually with Alliance, it's just so good to have them for the Ace tier, because there's only benefits. This one have a catch to it. If you remove your Knight's defensive capacities and you go for offense, it might be a downfall, because Knights are usually very tanky. If you lose your tankiness, all of a sudden you might be losing because your frontline do a lot of damage, your backline do lots of damage, but there's no tank ability. But we shall be testing that as well. One thing that's very nice to have is because Knights usually runs dragons and SVEN's already scaled, and this makes him super tanky with against magic. And naturally he can go into the Knights. You can have the 6 Knights with 4 from Grace, turns him into Heartless because he does so much physical damage. You can have Viper and SVEN as a scaled. You can even consider Tidal Medusa for the 4 scale now. And on top of that, if you guys remember guys, there's a friend that comes with SVEN, which is our champion. Now let's see what happens when we combine our friend Legion Commander with SVEN. I was thinking this as I saw this particular preview. So with Legion Commander, she can have the alliance of existing alliance. So if we had the Knights active, and Legion Commander will be defensive because of the Knights passive, so that means she can survive for longer, cast her ultimate and gets more damage. On top of that, if we add Swim into the party, SVEN can give her the change of Ace Alliance. So let's say Legion Commander was already hitting 500. All of a sudden SVEN doubles her damage because she was a Knight and she is getting the Ace effect of a Knight. She'll be hitting 1000 plus damage. And then if you give her some sort of attack damage item, maybe attack speed like Moonshot, or maybe Battle Fury, see, it's like a gadget SVEN. So you get 2 different types of SVENs, and they will be hitting everything with Cleave. So this is very interesting, and I think SVEN is going to have some really nice base stats, because he's all about the physical attack. If you look at the Troll Warlord, he has some really high stats. Let's have a look at the Troll Warlord, I'll show you guys. So if you look over here, the Troll Warlord's base stats is very high. So if we look over here, the Troll Warlord base stats has some of the highest base attack damage, goes from 180 to 200, then goes to 360 to 400, because he's all about the passives and all about the damage. I think this is something similar that's going to happen to SVEN. He's going to get some okay health, but he's going to get some really good attack damage to amplify his damage base. That said though, the downside of losing the Knights Alliance, it's going to be quite relevant, because Knights do receive, with 6 Knights, you receive 50% damage reduction. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like a gimmicking or if this is going to be super strong. From my perspective, if you have 3-star Knights, this can definitely benefit, because the multiplication of damage is going to be massive. Going back to the heroes, we have seen 7 heroes. So far from yesterday, we saw 3 more today, so we have 10 new heroes. And because of that, it's going to be having a lot of combinations and choices. We have Heartless, we have Savages, and we have another Scaled Knight to be added. Also another human, but you know, humans are everywhere, so I think there's like 8 or 9 humans around in the game. What I'm really excited is Legion Commander, because what I was thinking is, I want to get the dragons with the Viper and Dragon Knight. I want to get the Knights with the SVEN and, you know, the bunch of Knights for Legion Commander. And all of a sudden, she's defensive and offensive. I can be switching the SVENs around. And after that, if we look into our lines over here, we can consider the Legion Commander into Savage, or we can consider her into something that's a cheap alliance. Maybe Deadeye, maybe some of the 2-cost alliance. So the 2-cost alliance are like Trolls or like Shamans. They only require 2 units. Why is that so handy? Is because if you have those cheap alliance activated, all of a sudden your Legion Commander gets so much buff. Let's look at the Savage. Each time she attacks or casts the attacking spell, she will get more damage. This is not that great because she naturally have higher damage with her permanent damage. But if you give her Shamans, if she now have 17% to turn enemy into a chicken, then it's likely she's going to win her fights and she's going to survive for longer, at the cost of maybe 1 Shadow Shaman, maybe 1 Enigma. Other than that, if she gets the Troll passive with the Knights and with, you know, the Dragons, she can also have the 35% plus 35 attack speed instead of the 10 attack speed, because she's considered as a Troll instead of as an ally. And those can be interesting. And on top of that, if you have Warlocks activated in the alliance, she will be considered as a Warlock. As a Warlock, when she casts ability, she will link with someone else and she's going to lifesteal with her auto attack. So keep that in mind as well. So Legion Commander is going to be very fancy, but the big highlight today is going to be SVEN. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about those 3 heroes? The Shadow Shaman as the Demon Heartless on tier 1, also another Brownie with a Savage ability with a very low CD, physical attack, curve spray, AoE, and lastly, the God Alliance, not gods, the Godly SVEN Ace tier for the Knights, Scale, and Humans. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I can't wait for the part 4 tomorrow. So, super excited. And yeah, let's get more of those patch reviews. So, more things to come. And once the big patch comes, we'll be making guides for different modes, maybe co-op, maybe the different dungeon crawler, and also we'll be looking towards how to best use of SVEN, maybe Legion Commander, maybe we'll try some gimmicking with Bristleback as well. So super excited. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.